Good morning. One last time, one live here doing one of our YouTube live lessons, the last one of the school year. I was thinking just a minute ago, I pick on you all the time for being so big into YouTubers, and look at me, doing these YouTube live lessons and everything like that. I never once thought I would be teaching from my couch with a computer in front of me and a whiteboard that I kept from when I was in college. But here we are. But I hope this week's been going well for you guys. Hope you're having a good Friday so far. And hope your work is almost done. I hope you all have gotten through this work without many issues. Don't forget that you have until next Friday, the 15th, to get this finished. That's our technical last day of school, and then the packets will be turned in on May 18th, Monday, May 18th. Today, for the last lesson, we're going to look at something called appropriate displays. It's really going to be just choosing what chart or graph we want to display any type of statistics on. And so we'll go ahead and get started with it. This is day 9, days 9 and 10 in your packets. So you might want to have your packets ready to go and be looking at those. But we'll go ahead and talk about these appropriate displays and what we're going to be looking for. So first of all, we're going to be displaying different statistics. And so our goal is to decide what's the best way to do that. And I'm going to show you here in a second the different types of displays we have. But whenever we have to decide what type of display we want to use, we're going to answer or ask ourselves 3 questions. The first question is, what type of information is given? Are they percents? Are they just numbers? Are we trying to compare? So what type of information is given? What do you want this to show? Do you want it to show the different percents? Do you want it to show the median and how spread out the data is? Do you want it to compare different things? And that kind of goes along with number 3, is how will it be analyzed? Or in other words, if you're showing this to somebody, what do you want them to get from it? For example, one of them is going to be good for showing how spread out something is. One of them, or a couple of them, are going to be good for showing how to compare something. One of them is going to be good to show how something changes over a period of time. So there's different things that we can look for, different reasons why we use different displays. So these 3 questions will kind of guide us through deciding which display is the best one to use. So another important thing, many of these situations and many of these questions we're going to deal with, they're going to have more than one correct answer, more than one correct display. Our goal is to choose one of these that works. Now, there are going to be some that don't work, so you can't just pick one randomly. But our goal is to choose the best one that we think would be best for it. And also, it might ask us to describe how to set it up. So we need to know, okay, if I chose this display, how would I set it up if I was actually going to have to draw it? On none of these, and as you do your practice questions, you will not have to actually draw the display. All that you have to do is choose the best one. Okay, so this is going to guide us into choosing which display we want to use. So the types of displays that we have, there are 5 different ones. All of our answers today, and when you do the practice questions, will be one of these 5 displays. So the first one we've got is a bar graph. So a bar graph compares different things. And so usually we have a bar graph. Let's say we were asking the question, what is the 7th grader's favorite subject in school? So we would have, a bar for math, one for science, one for social studies, one for language arts, and we would use that to compare this data. And that's easy to see. Okay, they like math the most, obviously, but we would say 7th graders like math the most, and so that's easy to see. The difference between a bar graph and a histogram is, if you notice, a bar graph has different sections, or you're comparing different things like subjects in school or pets that people own. A histogram, notice what's at the bottom here. It's the same as a bar graph, except you've got different intervals. So one thing would be, how many hours have students spent on these packets? Well, this many spent 1 through 5 hours. this many spent 6 through 10, this many spent 11 through 15. So if you're showing different intervals, like 1 through 5, 6 through 10, 11 through 15, and how many people are in that, you're still comparing, but you're not comparing like a subject in school or a pet. You're comparing different intervals. Okay? And one thing about a histogram is those intervals always have to be the same. So if you're going up by 5s every time, it's got to be the same 5 every single time. Okay, the other 3, we've got a box plot. A box plot is good if you've got a lot of data you've got to show, if it's a lot of different numbers, or if you want to show where the median or how spread out data is. Okay, none of these are really going to do that for you, but a box plot will show you how spread out data is. We've got a pie chart or a circle graph. A pie chart, that is where you divide everything into percents. So the entire circle, the entire pie represents 100%. We're breaking these down into different percents, and that's what's going to be our pie chart. So if you're dealing with percents, a pie chart is always the best. And then we've got a line graph. A line graph, you've probably seen these on like TV shows or commercials. That is showing how something is changing over a period of time. So one thing that is shown in a line graph, if you ever see the stock market, or maybe your parents do, then you can show how something's changing over a period of time. So this would be like, January, February, March, April. It's going up a little bit more, down, and then up even more than that. So that's what the different displays are. So you're comparing different things with a bar graph and a histogram. We've got a box plot, which shows how spread out something is. A pie chart, which shows different percents. And a line graph shows how something changes over a period of time. I'm going to try and hold this up, or you won't be able to see it all, but I can hold it up if I need to on some of these examples. But let's go ahead and look at our examples. Okay. So the first example, it says select an appropriate display to show the number of boys of different age ranges that participate in athletics. So we're breaking it up into different age ranges. So like 10 and 11, 11 and 12 and 13, 14 and 15. And we're going to show how many boys participate in athletics. Well, if we are showing something with different age ranges, a histogram would probably be best. So this is what it would look like. We've got 10 through 12, 13 through 15, 16 through 18. And this shows how many boys participate in athletics within these different ages. So those who are 10 through 12, this many participate. 13 through 15, this many do. 16 through 18, that many do. Okay, so a histogram, because you're comparing different intervals of ages, that's why we would use a histogram for that one. Now, could you use something else? You might be able to use a bar graph, but I think because you are using the different intervals there, you break them into equal intervals, that would be the best way to do that. Okay, so example 2. It says select an appropriate display for the percent of students in each grade at a middle school. Well, if you look at the different types of displays that we have, this graph is showing percents. We're breaking it into percents. And so a pie chart would probably be best. So we're looking at percent of students in each grade. So this is probably not the best job that I did, because you're not going to have 5 different grades in a middle school. But a pie chart is broken into percents. So we would have different, 25% 7th graders, 30% 8th graders, something like that. And so because you're dealing with percents, a pie chart would be the best for example 2. Example 3 says select an appropriate display for the number of people who have different kinds of pets. There are more than one ways that you can show this, but I was thinking, okay, we've got like cat, a dog, a fish. We want to compare how many people own that type of pet. And so I thought the best one to use for this one would be a bar graph. Okay, so I'll talk about the bar graph first, then we'll talk about if there's another one that would work. But we have a cat, a dog, and fish. And so we're going to show how many people own each one of these pets, and we're going to compare it. Easy to see more people own a dog. So I thought a bar graph would work well for this because you're comparing different categories, different pets, and not different age ranges or different intervals or something like that. So that's why a bar graph would work best for this. You could also, though, use a pie chart. You could say we surveyed 100 people, and 20% say they own a cat, and 25% say they own a dog. So a pie chart would also work for that one, if you wanted to use a pie chart. But I think a bar graph would probably be the easiest one to use for example 3. And then example 4. Select an appropriate display to compare the percent of ethanol production by state and describe how you would set up your chart or graph. So here is that data that you're going to be dealing with example 4. So you've got different states and how much they produce, and so different numbers. So and we've also got to explain how we would set this up. So one way that we could do this would be use a bar graph, and each bar would represent a different state. And then we would say, this state is a lot higher than this one, and we would break it up and show the different bars for different states. You could also figure out how much is 100%. So you would add up all the numbers that they give you, and you would find the percent for every state. Once you've done that, you would use a pie chart. So you would say Iowa, they take up 30%. In Nebraska, they produce 12%. And Illinois, they produce 10%. And so you could use a pie chart. It would be a little more work. You'd have to find the different percents. But you could use that as well to display this. So those are 2 good examples of, this is one that uses more than one right answer. It's whichever one you think would be easiest to read, whichever one you think would be easiest to display. So as you go to work on day 10 and you work on the practice questions for these appropriate displays, remember, you don't have to actually draw out the display. You just have to tell me which one would work best, and also how would you set that up. And it could be more than one answer, but remember, every single one that you're going to be answering is going to be one of these 5. Okay, and each one is used for different reasons, but all the displays that you're going to be answering for day 10 and the practice questions will be one of these 5 displays. And so I hope that helped. We're going to be showing, like I said, different statistics whenever we deal with appropriate displays. So you just got a few questions left, and then you all are officially done with your 7th grade school year. On day 10, there's also a couple other questions that I asked that don't have to do with this section. I asked that you would answer those honestly. It's just for me to see. I ask students these same questions every year, just to see kind of how I'm doing and what you got from 7th grade. And then I wrote something to you all at the bottom of day 10. But I just want you all to know that I've missed you guys. I've missed getting to teach you all. I hope these YouTube live sessions have helped. And I hope you all have a very good summer break. Hopefully everything gets back to normal before too long. But just know that I missed you all, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys come through those doors as 8th graders. Looking forward to seeing how much you've grown, and looking forward to seeing how you all go through your last year at the junior high next year as 8th graders. But once again, hope this has helped. Hope you guys get your work done soon. Once again, let me know if you have any questions. And I guess the last thing is, have a great summer break, guys. And if you see me out, make sure you say hi. But I hope you guys are doing well. Bye.